Hola from the city of Los Angeles. I'm Peter Thomas Fornital. This is HorsePlayers Happy Hour. It is our regular season finale. Now, it still means we have 4 shows left this year, but this is the last chance for people to punch their ticket into the playoffs. We're also on this show going to be giving away a $10,000 Breeders' Cup betting challenge seat. Julie Leboyko, the player in pole position for that one. But there are some mathematical scenarios for the people chasing her, especially if they're playing multiple entries in this tournament, to potentially run her down. So Julie should not be counting the chickens just yet, but things are looking good as far as her chances to win a BCBC seat go. That would be very, very cool. We're going to follow that story. We're going to look at 3 races from Belmont at the Big A. We're going to look ahead to the California Crown. That's why I'm out here in LA. It was the Women's Summit today. Rolled over to one of my favorites. Let's see if we can see the sign. One of my favorite breweries in Los Angeles, if not my favorite. The sign's a bit obscured there, but you can kind of see. Oh, there it is. Highland Park. Really great stuff from these guys, starting off with a hoppy Pilsner. I'm going to be having a few halves during the course of the show. I'll report on the beers. I'll make my co-host filibuster while I go to get them. That co-host, you see him there on screen next to me. He is Jonathan Kitchen from Fox Sports. How are you, my friend?
PTF, it's raining out there in New York City, but you seem like you're dealing with a little bit better weather, but that's all right. No big deal. I actually found out today, or at least I realized that I'm going to have to get a winter coat. You know, I've faked it for a very long time.
How did you not have a winter coat in Saratoga?
Because I didn't go outside, and I just had a hoodie and I had like a nice vest, whatever. So to get from the car to wherever I was going, it worked. I wasn't just hanging out in the streets, but in New York City, there's gonna be a little street hanging out. I'm assuming, so I have to get like a real jacket now, which is wild.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You're gonna have to take care of that business sooner than I care to admit. But before that happens, we do have several weeks, and we have a great horse racing event in the form of the Breeders' Cup to talk about key Breeders' Cup prep action happening here and in New York this weekend. We'll probably focus on the California stuff on this show, but if we want things to talk about, hey, we could look at take a look at some of those races in New York too. I've only looked at the 2-year-olds. So you say it's raining. What are your early predictions? This is really just selfishly to help me out. What are your early predictions for how the turf is going to be playing Saturday and Sunday? Are we looking at something torrential, or is it just a little cut in the ground?
Yeah, I think it's just been like a little bit just kind of dicey the last few days. I mean, at least today. It hasn't been pouring. It's just been kind of like misty feeling, I don't project there'll be any issues. The turf's listed as firm over there right now. I don't think there's going to be anything crazy. And so I would imagine that the stakes races are going to be protected, on Saturday, obviously, with the Pilgrim and the Grade 1 Joe Hirsch turf. And then on Saturday, the Miss Grillo, or Sunday, the Miss Grillo. Sunday, I'd imagine they'll all be protected, being, important races for the Breeders' Cup as well. So,
on an earlier show, we did a sort of a low-key sneak preview of the Miss Grillo, because you and I had both been so taken by the buzz about and the performance of Opulent Restraint. I have to say, when I actually sit down and handicap the race, I think I might like the stablemate a little bit more even. Remember that Virgin Colada who ran up at Saratoga. It's an interesting race. We're going to have a baby talk show this week with our friends at Keeneland Sales. Have you looked at that race? I assume you haven't looked at that race yet. It's
No, but these are sometimes there's certain races where decisions are made when they cross the wire in the race before. So it doesn't matter what happens. I think Opulent Restraint could be pretty special. She exits that maiden race that we've talked about a few times on the show that I thought was probably the best 2-year-old turf race that we saw at Saratoga this summer, where Raining Flowers came back and ran extremely well. As Catch Can came back and won for Jonathan Thomas. Opulent Restraint won out of there. And then Good Long Cry, who just unfortunately happens to be a maiden still, who is another one that has a lot of talent. And so I've always just kind of had an eye on that one. But I'll also mention this one too. The other Chad Brown, if you like Virgin Colada, is Marvelous Madison, who's drawn right outside of Opulent Restraint. You'll remember Marvelous Madison was the second the second race on closing day that won going 5.5 but it was pretty obvious that Chad wanted to get a start, was trying to get the horse to go longer, but unfortunately those races were rained off the turf. So he had to sprint the horse. Now gets an opportunity to go a little bit longer. I think Marvelous Madison is one that could be interesting as well, but I'm an opulent restraint guy myself.
It's going to be interesting to see how those three go. I mean, it might be de facto team tactics too, coming out of that sprint from that outside draw with Marvelous Madison, whose best chance is probably on or near anyway. And if all goes wrong, maybe a chance to set up with those. But it's a more complicated race than the three Chads too. There's some other interesting ones in there. I'm going to have a full horse by horse write up of that one over at atheraces.com. We'll tackle it on Baby Talk as well. Would love to. We have a good comment from Matt Miller. I was just going to encourage other people to make comments and ask us questions about these Breeders' Cup races as well. How far are we from this next race at Belmont at the Big A, JK?
We got a minute. They're still on. It's a turf race. They're still on the dirt, so we got a minute.
Why don't you give people a quick cap winner, as you've been so good at doing all season long?
Yeah, I mean, look, Silver Skillet has a weapon with speed. For whatever reason, they didn't use that weapon last time. It feels like Joel won't make that mistake again. So the 3 Silver Skillet at 3-2 looks pretty tough if they use that weapon. There was a time where I tried to beat Silver Skillet with Marvelous Mod, and Silver Skillet just did too much running early for Marvelous Mod. I suppose there's a world in which if Joel makes the same mistake that he made last time, rating Silver Skillet, then the 2 Marvelous Mod could win. But Joel's one of those people that he'll make a mistake on you every now and again. But when he's Joeling, he's really hard to beat. And typically, to me, he's one person that he's one of those people that a mistake really grabs his attention next time around. He doesn't seem like the type of guy. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I just think that I think that sometimes a previous mistake puts him on form, right? Puts him into more of a cerebral place where he's making good decisions. So I feel like Silver Skillet will be aggressively ridden away from there, and I think she'll be tough if she can just get a breather at some point throughout the race.
All right, we'll see what happens there. I'll share this Matt Miller comment. I'm also working on getting the leaderboard ready. See, I'm planning ahead now, JK. But yeah, it sounds like there's some very interesting possibilities on the leaderboard, and could be resolved. Well, who knows? A $10,000 BCBC seat could be resolved in this, race in a $20 contest on the last day of the regular season. Sounds like the 2 and the 5 are for 2 people fighting for a season leader position. You give either of those runners any count, the 2 or the 5 here, JK?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, definitely the 2. Marvelous Mod can definitely win. We just talked about who I played Marvelous Mod 2 starts back against Silver Skillet. And then Can't Fool Me.
Less so?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, this horse can absolutely win. But it really all depends. Silver Skillet is one of those turf horses that possesses that weapon that not all of them have, which is speed. And she can finish. So ask me when they run through the first quarter, and I'll tell you if one of those 2 other horses can win or not.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because I was thinking what I might do is ask you to filibuster a little / I'm not going to ask you to call the race, but talk your way through the race a little bit, because I want to go get another beer, and I figure there's no better time to do it than when the race is on, because most people are watching that. Go get it. Helping me out that way.
Yeah, go get after it there.
I won't make you talk while they're milling around here, but we'll get there soon. Women's Summit was great. I don't know if you've been to one of these things, but I think you and Giovanina would really enjoy. I mean, it's yes, obviously there's some very female specific advice, but it was just one of the more inspiring meetings about teamwork and leadership and all that great stuff that I've ever been in. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm bummed I'm missing the keynote, because obviously I had this previous engagement with you and the viewers, but hoping I can next time I'm going to try to go catch anything, because I really, really enjoyed the panel discussions this morning, and it's a topic we'll be returning to on the In the Money airwaves. Also just dropped our Women in Racing podcast on the Lead podcast collab with the Jockey Club with Shannon Kelly. Shannon really took the reins in this one, as it were, and did a fantastic job producing this show. I'll let you talk through the race. I'm going to go get there's a nice dark lager off the Luke Report that I want to check out. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Joel is not Joeling. He has somehow found a way to be 6th early, while Silver Skillet was tossing her head a bunch. I would say to those that have the 2 and the 5, you're drawing extremely live. Richie Migliori always says it. Don't try to outkick the kickers, outclose the closers. Well, Marvelous Maud is currently in front of Silver Skillet. With the 5, who I know also got to mention here was a Can't Fool Me, is even with Silver Skillet. You see Joelle's got her relax a little bit. They're going slow. I mean, I don't see a situation in which the favorite wins this race from here. I'm not saying it has to be the 2 or the 5. I think Moon Age Daydream can win. What Love Looks Like can win. And they're all horses that have a better late kick and are in front of the favorite here. Can't imagine Christoph's going to love this ride. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Joelle asking, and it just looks like she's going to have – I mean, she's running. She's running, and oddly enough, she's going to probably outfinish the 2 and the 5. But you can't let a horse like Moon Age Daydream go 51 to the half. Actually ended up running 4th there. So I think it was 7-6. Somebody 7-6-5. I think it was 7-6-5. Yeah, I just don't. Look, I mean, in a lot of these situations, you never know what the instructions were. But when she's got back-to-back wins, where at the top of the stretch she's leading by 2-3 lengths, I can't imagine that anyone from the Clement barn would have said, "Hey, Joelle, we're going to rate Silver Skillet today. Yeah, let's just take her back, and see how she likes it." It's one of those things that I think you get from a great rider in Joel Rosario at times. It feels like you just I often feel like there's times where I just don't feel like he has a plan. And there's other times where he's brilliant. So, but there's times I really question the decisions. So, yeah, that was a curious situation. 7-6-5 and 3. Who would have thunk it? Flavian Pratt on the lead, going 51 to the half, 116 to the 6 furlongs, and is able to keep Silver Skillet out of the money. I don't know. Look, like I said, and I'm curious to see if anyone has any comments too. As it comes to riders, who's one rider that you don't feel like you ever have a grasp of? For me, it can occasionally be Joel.
Freak Out in the Moon Age Daydream. Oh yeah, getting it done at 9-2 here under Flavian Pratt. That's a horse I've always kind of liked. I'll be honest though, didn't get a chance to look at the race. What happened there? Was it?
Well, you would have loved her in here when you were going 51 to the half and Joel was sitting 7th on Silver Skillet.
Oh dear, Joel, my man. Joel. I mean, he can be the absolute best, but he has days where I don't know what's coming. Did the horse break poorly or something? I mean, was there any?
No, it was a complete grab. Complete and utter grab.
Hopefully didn't cost you too much.
No, I wasn't involved. I wasn't involved.
Good. That's unusual for you, but good news in this case. When this goes official, we'll read this leaderboard, and then perhaps we'll do a little video that we'll then cut out and release as our California Crown coverage. I thought the races came up pretty good. I mean, the Crown itself, there's rumors of maybe even 2 scratches, not any of the big horses. Little, would have been nice to see some East Coast support for that one. But I think next year when people look back and they see what this group of horses ran for in what may end up as a Baffert team scrimmage. Maybe you'll see people more likely to send out this way. But I tell you, the other three, I thought the races came up pretty good. I mean, we've got East Coast invaders in each of the other races, and they're pretty good and competitive and fun. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. I think this is a really good weekend for something like this too. I think the part of the magic of it, to me, JK, is that it's this weekend and not next weekend. You know, getting this in before Keeneland, there's just like this little beat in the calendar. Obviously, there's good stuff going on at Churchill and at Naira this weekend. But I think, you know, if they stick with this California Crown idea, it feels like one that is going to be able to work for them. That's you know, obviously they're partners and friends. So this isn't the most objective commentary in the world, but I do think it's a pretty good idea, and I'm psyched. I know you have a good excuse with all the travel you're doing these days for not having to get out here, but it does seem like the kind of event that you would typically enjoy. You know, an event day with some great racing.
Yeah, when it was first announced, I envisioned being there. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I think that it shouldn't be lost on the situation either that, from what I understand, and I'm no horseman, but from what I understand, the changes with the Tex Sutton situation and shipping horses out there, I think it makes a situation like this a tad bit more daunting than it used to be. And so I think that kind of adds to some of the complications that some horsemen on the East Coast might think, you know, why deal with that obstacle if I don't have to? And so I think
for those that don't know,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for those that don't know, explain the Tex Sutton thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like I said, I don't know it for certain, but I just know that you know, Tex Sutton used to be a much, you know, I don't know if Tex Sutton, like I said, not a horseman, just heard it in like passing or whatever, that like
it's a horse transport business.
Horse transport, yeah, and I just don't think it's not as easy.
Not as easy to do. Right, and that is definitely a factor. But I'll tell you what, it makes it all the more impressive for all the East Coast participation they got in the races that aren't the big one. Yeah, it feels to me like, I mean, not like Santa Anita and Del Mar are the same surface or anything, but the idea of having a SoCal prep, it might be appealing to people next year. We'll obviously, you know, take a wait and see approach, see how it all plays out. Let's look at this leaderboard for today's event. 2 more players will, through finishing in the exacta today, get into our 80-player tournament, and then of course we have well, I say of course, people might not know, other top tour finishers will fill out the field. So in the end, we're going to have 80 players. So I think it's going to be, is it 36 from the exacta, and then the other, that would necessitate that the other 44 will come from top tour finishes. So there's a lot of action going on right now. Matthew McJunkin, a name we've seen a lot on the leaderboards this year, 40-90. Daniel Edwards, Trish Smith, who's often in our own comments, John Manarino, Brendan Snodgrass, John Marino, Julie LeBoyko. There she is. That's our tour leader right now, looking to improve her position with currently being in 7th place here. Raymond Ravitz, David Harrison, an Eclipse-winning horse player. Wow, we got a lot of entries today, 194. Pretty cool. So that means I'm going to go down to, 20 or 19? Top 19 will get into the qualifier on Sunday. Jose Giron, John Van Niel, Dan Wild, Rick Vasquez. I almost read this as Suresh Borman, but it's Suresh Bauman. I was like, does Sean have a cousin we don't know about? Edwin Pinato, excuse me, Edwin. Pete Dressens, who we know well. Carolyn Stovall, Tim Mazanik, and David Burke in that tie for that 18th spot. Those are the ones right now who will also, on top of everything else, advance to play on Saturday for that $179 qualifier. Speaking of $179 qualifiers, the next 4 weeks right here, look, I get it. Online qualifying is great, but a lot of people don't necessarily want to, a lot of people want to feed in a game like this. They don't necessarily want to buy in. But let me give you a sales pitch that for the next 4 weeks, that 179 where, you know, what's the ratio on that? 1 in 40, 1 in 40, 1 in 50. The house cut for the whole thing goes to equine aftercare. So Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga are going to reap the benefits. So these next 4 weeks, I would say join in, because we're going to be awarding multiple, especially if we get numbers like this, multiple BCBC seats every week, and the money goes to an fantastic cause. So if you were ever going to play in an online qualifier directly without feeding in, which you can do daily with our friends over at horseplayers.com, these next 4 weeks are the time to get involved. Do you try to qualify for BCBC these days, or do you just buy in?
No, I mean, it's not that I shouldn't, or not that I shouldn't, and not it just I haven't. You know, and to be fair though, I feel like even when I was trying to, no, that's not true. I don't try to qualify typically. Like, I will qualify if there's, you know, the Keeneland contest or the Santa Anita contest or the, you know, some big contest at Naira in the summer or whatever. I usually try to qualify through live money contest. I've found that my dollar is better there than in the $2 win place thing. I've only qualified $2 win place one time. I've been playing since 2014. I've played with 2 entries every year since 2014. And, you know, I would say that for more than half of that, I was trying to qualify, and I've only qualified one time. It was actually, oddly enough, the first and only time that I qualified through you're muted.
That's your job. Did I write an article about that back in the day, that qualification? It feels like I might have.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah. No, I mean, that was like the first. Honestly, you talk about, you know, we were sitting on the couch yesterday, and like someone gave us this these kind of like, you know, like for an anniversary, like, you know, date cards or whatever. And so we were sitting on the couch, and like we opened one up and read it, and it was like, you know, talk about the first time you met and all these things. This is our date card, Pete. That's the first time that we met.
We need to get that printed up.
Yeah, no, it's
all right.
You called me and said, hey, I want to write a thing about you, and I was like, all right.
I thought you asked me a question first about how to play 2 entries. That's how I remember it.
Oh,
I probably have the email too. Yeah.
No, I probably
have the email too. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look it up right now.
But then later, I definitely did. You know, I was intrigued and definitely, you know, took the bait. So.
I'm literally going. I have the same email account. So let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look right now. It's gonna have to go back.
Way too many emails between us.
Don't look that way. It's one of, you know what? I'll do it later. Because we need to put in a date range like before 2015, and then
just so you know, I'm at 1,000. I'm at 1,000, and we're only to 2018, so we got a little while to go.
And that's, thank God it doesn't include texts and phone calls. We'd really be in trouble. But, all right, you think we should do a quick reset and rock out a little video for California Crown?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Or do you want to find this first? Find this first. We have time. It's probably still, what is it, like 20 minutes to the race at Saratoga?
I'm ready with I'm just trying to. I think I hit you first in a DM, Pete. I hit you first in a DM, so you're gonna have to find it there.
I doubt I've deleted, so we should be okay. Oh, that's really funny.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, great. We're gonna do this. If folks, we'll talk about it. We'll have more time to talk about these races after. So if you have questions, feel free to pop them in there. But let's get these shots right. So it looks okay. Yeah, I mean, there'll be this nonsense in the middle of the screen, but that's not the end of the world. I'm going to filibuster until we get to 25, and then I'll bring it in. It'll be just easier for the clip. Hello and welcome in the Money Media California Crown coverage, a quintet of stakes races on the day. In this video, we're going to talk about the last 4 graded stakes, the 3 California Crown races. We've also got 3 Breeders' Cup Win and You're In races. They're not. 2 of them are the same. 2 of them are different. We're basically covering everything here. And we're going to start off by talking about the John Henry Turf. JK, what's your view on this one. Very, very interesting race to be sure. You've got Gold Phoenix. This is sort of like his white whale, a race he's tried to win a couple of times, had some rough trips, but he's won everything else in California. Is this where he wins this race?
Well, look, I don't have a problem with him as an individual, but there's a couple horses in here I like a little bit more. So while he might get it done here, the other Phil D'Amato was the one that kind of caught my attention, and there's probably a few of them. The three, what are we calling this horse? Divine Propos?
Yeah, I can't decide if it's Divine or Divine. Like Divine Propos somehow sounds a little bit better, but I know the one you mean because this is the horse that I came up with too. Why don't you give the case first?
Look, it's just really simple. When it comes to these long-distance turf races, I'm looking for good internal moves, hidden moves that people might not see, and they might not be reflected in a final figure. A lot of times I make this comparison. If Usain Bolt were to walk away from the blocks for the first 10 meters of a 100-meter race and then run the next 90 meters faster than he's ever run 90 meters, his final time is still going to be slower than anything he's ever done. I think a lot of times you can make that comparison when you're looking at these turf races that start off very slow. The horses come home really fast, but unfortunately the final time doesn't reflect that. I thought let's go Divine. Divine Propos ran extremely well last time, and I think that he's going to appreciate this 1.25 miles. I think the 1 3/8 last time was his best race that he's had in the U.S. I'm going to go with that horse on top, but I also don't want to ignore Biliknikov towards the outside, who I think also ran pretty well last time in that race with Gold Phoenix and Dicey Mochara. I think that those two horses make a ton of sense. A-type horses for me for the Phil D'Amato barn, but the top choice will be the three. Divine Propos.
Yeah, I mean, the distance I think is right. You're right. No issue for this horse, getting better all the time. And how about the trip this horse is going to get? Should get a good attacking spot, maybe just ahead of mid-pack, powerhouse barn, and the figures this horse is running should make him competitive despite the seeming upgrade in company. You know, I'm not going to be a hero. Gold Phoenix will be on some tickets, and A-type as well. Second choice for me. But how about my goofy long shot in here, JK? The 7 Big Blue Line going out for William Walden. What a year he's having. Claiming this horse 2 back for 80. Won with him straight away in a dirt allowance. I don't know anything about this sire, if I'm being honest, but there is turf on the dam side. The best race this horse ran was a turf race, and it feels notable that that came at a mile at the more galloping Kentucky Downs, suggesting this horse could have the stamina for 10 furlongs on this oval. Definitely a horse I'm interested in, not the most likely winner, but one that could hit the board. Do you see it, or am I out to lunch?
No, I mean, look, I mean, you're always out to lunch, but I can see it. I mean, it's a turf race going, it's a turf race. It's all about trips in here. So I often don't have too many issues with too many horses that people select in grass racing.
Let's pivot to the next race on the card that we're going to talk about, the Grade 2 Eddie D. We're going down the hill here. Know you always like that. And we have some East Coast form heading out west in the form of Big Invasion, a horse you and I have both been big fans of for a long time. And my faith has wavered in him at times. Your faith has never wavered in Big Invasion. You had him last time. Do you like him right back here?
Oh, God. There's a short list of probably 3 horses that I have wished, and I have at one time or another wished would run down the hill. Right? Famously, Bobby's Kitten was a dream of mine to see run down the hill. That horse won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Big Invasion is on that list of horses that I have always wished would run down the hill. I think I even told the Clement crew at one point that, oh my gosh, I wish the Breeders' Cup was at Santa Anita this year. They were running down the hill because Big Invasion, I cannot wait to see him running here. There is a 0% chance I will pick any other horse in here, and I will be watching this race like the biggest fan you've ever seen when they come across that dirt, and to watch that horse on the outside come rolling, it's going to give me flashbacks of Bobby's Kitten. I love Big Invasion going down the hill in this spot.
I like him too. I mean, there is some question about the stamina, but he just feels like a horse who's supposed to be suited by it. I'm not going to worry about it. He should be another one who should just get a great trip. And I think we might just get a backable price, JK, because of the questions about the downhill and just the fact that this is a big full field. I'm going to feather in some other backups in this spot. A runner like First Piece, I think, is interesting. Really likes the downhill, should get a good trip. A runner like Fast Buck, I think, is a bit intriguing. Low profile connections could end up in a good position, but more than half my money is going through Big Invasion. You and I will be rowing in together in this year's California Crown Eddie D. Let's get to the big one, the race that gives the day its name. I want to say the inaugural running, but it's obviously a race with other names that's been around for a long time. It's the Grade 1 California Crown, going 1 1/8 miles on the dirt. National Treasure versus Muth. That seems to be the storyline. Is it as simple as that? And how do you separate them if you do?
I think a lot of people are going to fall for the Muth trap. And while there is an opportunity, I think, for Muth to kind of grow up a little bit, right? To show that I'm a progressing 3-year-old. Man, if you look at his last race, not counting National Treasure's last race, National Treasure had 3 races prior to that were faster at every point of call and from a pace figure standpoint and a final figure standpoint. I just think National Treasure is a little bit better. I also think that National Treasure and Muth both have similar styles, and I can't see Baffert getting too crazy with rating them. I think he's going to probably let them sit off of one another, but they're talented and they're going to run at each other. If one of them does and is able to kind of hold off the other one and win, in my opinion, it's going to be National Treasure. And if that doesn't happen, I think it sets up nicely for a horse like Senor Buscador, right? So National Treasure is the one I want in the war between him and Muth, which is weird considering the fact they're coming from the same barn. Senor Buscador is the one that I want if and when the race falls apart, which it potentially could, depending what the strategy and what the instructions are on the 2 Baffert speed types.
I think there's close to a 0% chance that the Bafferts do. I think they're going to back it down. Team tactics. I mean, we've seen this movie before. I can't think of too many Baffert scrimmages where they dueled and another horse won. It has happened. I can think of, there was that Yakteen horse a couple of years ago, maybe it was, who benefited from a situation like that. But I think they're going to back it down. Here's my issue with National Treasure. The last race was bloody awful. I mean, as bad as it gets. You know, I thought it was tactics, but then there was the quotes from John Velasquez after the race that he just at no point had any horse. That just doesn't make me want to trust him. Meanwhile, Muth, very progressive. I know he was ridden last time, but I mean, he was off a 6-month layoff. Assuming he was maybe undertrained coming into that, Clocker Report will provide some intel here. If we see National Treasure as A-minuses and Muth is B's, I may reverse course here. But I do think this might be an interesting chance for the progressive 3-year-old, who I think will be a bigger, more significantly a bigger price than National Treasure than the morning line suggests. I think it's an interesting opportunity to press him. I feel like he can lock it up with them. I love Senor Buscador as a horse, but I think he's going to be flying late. I mean, Buscador becomes a little bit interesting for the Classic in that scenario you and I have been talking about in other shows for Sierra Leone. If, that ends up being some big pace burn up, Buscador is interesting, but I just think he's going to be against the flow here. We'll go head to head here. You take National Treasure, I'll take Muth, and we'll see where the chips fall in this year's California Crown. One more race to talk about in this segment, and that is the Grade 2 City of Hope. It doesn't have a California Crown designation, but it does have a Breeders' Cup Win and You're In designation. Very, very interesting race, I thought. Johannes making his return to the races in here. Who do you like to close things out on this California Crown on Saturday, JK?
Oh, I love Trickery in the spot. Trickery for Graham Motion. He sends him out there with his old buddy Johnny Velasquez aboard. And this is one of those situations where you do have a progressive 3-year-old. You look at Time Form US, and Trickery's last race got a 124 at Colonial. Johannes has been running 125s is the best thing that he's ever run. So you'd like to think that Trickery can take another step forward as he continues to progress. He's an East Coast turf horse coming out west. I'm licking my chops at the 4-5 I see on Johannes and the 8-1 I'm getting on Trickery. I love Trickery in the spot.
Whoa, you think Trickery will be that kind of price? That would be amazing.
The morning line is 8-1.
That's crazy. I mean, in a great way. I hope it's right because, I mean, I don't think it is, to be honest with you. But I would love it if it were. I mean, you already made a great point. It's the progressive 3-year-old. This horse has been so cool this year. Second place finisher in that Secretariat has come back to frank that form. Should get an excellent spot. It's funny because this is one where other speed figures agree with what you said about time form, but Beyer has a chasm between Johannes and the rest of this field. But I'm just not sure it's fully warranted. Look, he can win. You can probably lock it up with the two of them, but I like Trickery. I'll be pressing Trickery in this spot. And in terms of a longer shot, I could see messing around the littlest bit underneath, deeper backups with Almendaris, just because I thought he was really against the flow in that Del Mar race. Ended up finishing second. Thought he had an excuse 2-back-2 moving into a fast pace. The problem with him is he's going to need a lot of things to go right. He's going to need a fast pace, which you may or may not get. Won't affect Trickery or Johannes that much because they'll be tactical, and he's going to need both of them to underperform. So more of an underneath type for me. Trickery all the way. We are in lockstep. Godspeed, JK, when it comes to this inaugural running of the California Crown. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel to get all of our YouTube exclusive content, and check back into space tomorrow. We've got another California Crown show with the likes of Jerry Bailey, Randy Moss, Brittany Urton, and how did I freeze? How did my brain freeze on the fourth member of this team? Nick Locke. Sorry, Nick. It's going to be great. Make sure you check it out on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. All right, that's good. And that probably brought us right to the next race, I'm gonna guess, at
1 minute.
Big A. You got a quick cap winner for us?
Let me just flip this page over here. And let's go to, what is this, the 7th? And we're gonna go with Sheriff Bianco's still running, huh? Oh, a little Blazing Sevens. He's short. How short is he? Yeah, it's too short. He's gonna be tough to beat though. That's the problem. I'll take Rocket Can just because it's a better price. But Blazing Sevens, I mean, I picked Blazing Sevens in the darn Met Mile, so I feel stupid not picking him here. But
how short is he on the board?
I mean, he's not offensive. He's 3-2, but
okay, it's not crazy. But it's a big full field. There's a lot of ways you can go. In this spot. What about a runner like Full Screen on the dropping class? He disappointed in the 4-go, but was probably against the profile of the track there. Massive dropping class, decent trip from mid pack. You give that one any count at a price? I'm hoping he's a price.
Sure. I mean, if he runs back to the race 2-back, but see, to me, it's so much more about running to the race 2-back than it is about I could care less about what happened in the 4-go, in all fairness.
It's more of an ignore. I'm just saying, I think you can. He has reasons you can ignore it. It wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The race 2-back though was a lifetime best, which concerns me a little bit. Like, where did that performance come from? I feel comfortable with the 13. I mean, like I said, I think Blazing Sevens obviously is the class horse here, but he's also not the most trustworthy of horses at this point.
I hear you. I'm going to do that same thing to you if you don't mind. And then let's see. How are we doing? Oh, we're in great shape. Boy, we only have one more race left. We're cruising. We're 40 minutes in, JK, and it felt like 4 minutes. So yeah, I'm definitely sticking you with talking your way through the next race. Let me ask you, since I started, there is a jackhammer down the block. Can you hear it, or is the StreamYard noise canceling that damn good?
No, I hear it, but I don't think it's not a setback by any means, but I hear it.
Gotcha. Well, I'll keep muting. Hopefully it won't be horrible on the California Crown video that we will post separately. Let us know, folks, if you have. Oh, we have a lot of comments all of a sudden over there. So yeah, that's your easiest way to kill time if you don't feel like doing anything resembling calling the race, is to just talk your way through those as they're getting loaded here now. 8-1 on the one I mentioned, 3-1 for JK money coming all the time though for Blazing Sevens. I'm gonna go get another beer. Jonathan will talk you through this race. I'll make sure to mute though before I jump, so you don't have to listen to that obnoxiousness.
All right. Let's see what happens here, huh? Let's see here. I'm heading out. I get to go back to Aqueduct in a couple of days. Nice little train ride. All righty. Where is Blazing Sevens? 6, right? 13, Rocket Can broke well. That's why I love outside draws with horses that have tactical speed. It's just like Rocket can just kind of figure out what he wants to do. Tucks in right in behind. He was in the 13, but he's going to end up no worse than probably the 3 path. It feels like the 1 is actually in the 2 or the 3 path. I always kind of look where the rail is and the saddle cloths to try to understand what paths they are when you're looking at the pan like this. Blazing Sevens sitting, 7th right now, but working out a nice little trip. And let's see what they do here. I mean, I don't know how people call races. This is impossible. Phileas Fogg, 46, but still comfortable. Rider has an ass jet. You can see the hands on the 10 maker's candy asking. This 3 is a little bit interesting at this point. Still has some run left. Blazing Sevens tips out to the middle of the track. Looks like he's going to probably come up a tad bit short here. And it looks like Phileas Fogg, who came off the turn really running, is going to get this picture taken with the 13 Rocket Can, likely to run second. Blazing Sevens off the board. Man, I got to say that Blazing Sevens, when you have a horse like this that has some talent, you have a horse like this that in a game where winning big races matters. And I mean, it feels like Blazing Sevens was an inch away from being a stallion somewhere in this world, and he lost to National Treasure, and he just hasn't found himself since then. You're muted, Pete.
Right, I forgot about that. Chad has done an amazing job over the years recognizing. Let's hope our sponsors aren't listening or don't have thin skin. He's done an amazing job recognizing how the current racing calendar makes the Preakness a weak race, and he's had these horses that he points for that instead of he knows aren't going to win the Derby. And he can point these horses that aren't at the tippity top, and they can win one of the most famous races in America. And he has made some stallions from that route, and he nearly pulled off the trick with Blazing Sevens. Props to him for very clever spotting and understanding of the racing calendar. And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's see what. Well, we have to wait for this to be official. We'll hit the leaderboard one more time. And then you, my friend, are free to, you're welcome to hang around. But I think Matt Miller is ready to come in and discuss season-long leaderboard implications. If you want to leave us to it after that, what else do you have? What else do you have cooking? What's on your agenda tonight?
Well, I was thinking about going into the other room and trying to convince my wife to let's go to the Giants game tonight. But with the weather outside and the fact that she hurt her ankle and has a boot on her foot, I feel I'm going to have a 0% chance.
Plus, who wants to watch the Cowboys beat the Giants into submission? That's no fun anyway. I am thinking I'm red-eyeing back now Saturday. I changed plans because I could. I'm red-eyeing back Saturday. I'm thinking about getting off the red eye and going to see Liberty Aces at Barclays Center, which I think looked like a pretty soft ticket when I was checking for the teams that were in the final.
Is that tomorrow night?
No, that's Sunday at noon.
Sunday at noon. Oh, I'm on air at that time. Well, I'll be doing talking horses with Andy at that time. There'll be more
playoff games. It's a fun atmosphere at Barclays. Like Brooklyn really supports the Liberty in a big way, so that'll be super fun. So yeah, that's my next sporting event. Let me know when they're official, if you'd be so kind. And,
they're unofficial, but
do you give the Giants any chance in this game? I mean, they looked so much better, as you predicted last week. But do you think?
Yeah, no. They looked better, but the Cowboys, they're just better than they are. And the Cowboys had a terrible start to that game, but then just kind of found their groove later. No,
Yeah.
they're just the Giants.
They're going to wake up at home against an opponent they beat on the regular. When the Giants are good, they go there and lose. So what's going to happen with this team?
Exactly.
I know that the present isn't predicated upon the past like that exactly. Kind of a muggish comment, but as a Giants fan, I can't help it.
It's all right. It's respected.
Yeah, you know how it goes.
You're official, Pete.
All right, we're official, and then of course I just hit the wrong button and absolutely goofed this up. So how do I refresh once I've gotten rid of the URL? You guys are going to have to bear with me for a second. So I'm going to have to do this magic, and then we should be good. We'll look around some more of the leaderboards here. And yeah, there we go. Matthew McJunkin holding his spot at the top. Tim Holland, Gary White, Daniel Edwards, Nathan Kaczynski, Nick Toy, Edward Enborg. Boy, he's one I interviewed 100 years ago for that other place, the original place with the letters, the DRF. Then let's see, Daniel Edwards, John Marino, Raymond Ravitz, Christopher Andrews, Mark Woodson, Andrew Uretsky, Trish Smith, John Malarino, Tim Mazanik, Brandon Snodgrass, and then, wow, John Marino all over the place today. Also tied. He's going to go potentially mob-handed, as the Brits say, to this qualifier on Saturday. Julie Leboyko, still in pole position, I am pretty sure, is in 20th currently. If this two runner is any price, has a chance to maybe get some more tour points, though I'd have to look at what her 6 scores are, etc. All right, buddy, appreciate you coming on here today. Appreciate you pinch hitting. You're going to be doing the Naira segment on the Players Podcast this week. Do you have that all teed up? You have a guest?
Yeah, I got Nikki the Boss locked up for tomorrow morning to record.
Beautiful. That's great. Make sure folks check that out. What's next for JK Plus One?
It's a great question. I need to get Rob Falcone. It's on the list of getting Rob Falcone, and I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to. Like this week. I'm going to do this week.
He's good. He's one of the guys. So we're going to be doing this fun project. We've actually pushed it out till after Breeders' Cup. Oh, here's your homework assignment. I've been production meeting in the middle of the show. So we have this show, and the gimmick is sponsored by our friends at Adelphi Racing, adelphiracing.com for more info. It's basically what the horse player can learn from the horseman. And I'm going to host, and I want to talk to bloodstock agents, jockeys, trainers, owners, people with expertise in claiming. And I want to just pick their brains for the data they use, how they do their thing, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like that's too long of a name for a show, what the horse player can learn for the horseman. So we need that, but pithy. So if you have any brain, let that rattle around. You're good at this game. Let that rattle around in your brain, and the next time we talk, one of us will hopefully have an answer. Cheers, my man. All right. Always great getting to spend some time with JK. Matt Miller, if you're still there watching, pop in. Oh, I need to send you a link, don't I? Yeah, let's do that. I will send that your way right now. You can join whenever, and then you'll join whenever, and then meanwhile, I'll take a look in the comments, because why not? I am so grateful for the noise canceling on StreamYard, because even though it sounds like you can hear the jackhammering, it's like comical. If this was on a cell phone, I would have had to say, I'll call you back. So, props to our friends over at StreamYard for providing such excellent technology. One race left in the regular season for HorsePlayers Happy Hour. But again, don't worry, still a chance to win your Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat over the course of the next 4 weeks. And then for those that don't know the way the playoffs work, so the 80 players, top 2 from every week, which includes the man I'm about to introduce, as well as other top finishers on the tour, they're all going to become this 80 entry blob that will advance week to week. And we have a cut line. You just have to be in the top 50%. You can really bet your opinion, even if it's favorites. Obviously, one long shot will probably get you there too. So it doesn't really work against a long shot player. It just depends on how you want to crack this particular nut. First week, 80 will cut down to 40. Then we'll have 40 cut down to 20. 20 will cut down to 10. And then on the final week of the season, which will be hopefully the Thursday the week before Breeders' Cup Week. I don't know exactly how we planned it this year. I'm going to have to double check that. Hopefully before Breeders' Cup Week, possibly Breeders' Cup Day, or Breeders' Cup, possibly the Thursday before Breeders' Cup starts, but I don't think so. We usually back it out a week. We're going to have an opportunity to give away another $10,000 seat to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Why do you want a seat to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge? Ask this man. He's been he's won the thing outright. He's invested in 2 other winners. It's one of his contest high points of the year, probably his contest high point of the year. Is that fair to say, Matt Miller?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's certainly the contest I look forward to the most. Like I said before, the NHC is certainly fun as a convention, but from a contest standpoint, I can't even think of number 2 after number 1.
It's great to be able to be in the same room as everybody at the NHC, and that does change the feel of it. But in terms of the quality of racing, the money that you can win, and the luck to skill ratio, it's all about the BCBC.
It's not even close. The minute it's over, the whole group is already talking about next year and who's going to qualify and how many entries and all that.
How hopeful are you? You've got at least 1 entry, maybe multiple. I don't know how closely you've been tracking it. No, you probably have at least 2 entries into our 80-player playoffs. How hopeful are you with the way we have the rules set up there, which I think is a little more skill-based with the cut lines? How hopeful are you about being able to win a BCBC seat as opposed to just buying it?
So last year I got up to the final table, and that was largely done with, joking aside, with a lot of game theory behind the picking, some of which was actually randomized. If I had made it to that final table, I don't think there's any substitute for handicapping and playing it seriously. But given the format here, I would just urge participants to give thought to, and I'm going to go back to plugging my book immediately, sorry, but in a better way of thinking, you and I both know the topic well, putting yourself in a position for success. And given the way the format works, you just need to be in the top half. And so my strategy personally is wildly different if I need to be in the top half versus the top 1. So personally, I don't think it's that, especially if you have multiple entries, you should be able to get somewhat deep into this but at some point, much like the NHC, you just got to pick winners, and it does come down very much to a skill competition.
That sounds exactly right. No surprise. And we don't mind you plugging a better way of thinking at all. You've been helping us out all year here. Been hearing great things about the book. Just so much buzz, Matt, about the lessons you put out there. And so I can be your latest testimonial. Well, I'm jinxing myself, but there's just absolutely no way I'm going to lose this fantasy league at this point, because I am 14 points clear with 4 days to play. But it really changed the way that I approached, I've told you this offline, but I think it's useful to get into it, changed the way that I approached my fantasy baseball draft this year, because I grew up in a league with a very complicated scoring system where the guy who designed it basically told me, as I was, a young person trying to game it out a little bit, was like, basically, don't worry about the categories. You win if you have the best players. Okay. So I was attuned to, this was a crazy complicated, it was a 15 category system. I'm sure there was ways to pick it apart with your brain that could have helped, but that was my way of thinking about it. It was going to reward well-pitched innings and lots of playing time, well-pitched innings, OBP. Those were the things that got you points. So you didn't need to worry so much about the minutia of, a category like stolen bases, which is somewhat divorced from actually winning baseball. Conversation for another time. You didn't even have to think about it in this other league. Anyway, that's how my mindset developed. And nowadays, that league, I'm actually going to bring that league back next year. That's a league that started in the 80s. I might try to import you to New York for a weekend to take a team in that league. I'm going to rent out a back room at the Wild East Brewery. We're going to do it right. But that's another story.
Fun. Well, I'll tell you I can tell you a funny story from today. I was going to go to the White Sox game. It's the last home game of the season. I thought it would be fun to be there for a historic loss, and then thought if the White Sox were going to give me the middle finger one more time this year, it would be that I would show up and they would win. So I skipped the game. They're up 7-0, by the way. And I went and my plan was I'm just going to have a hot dog. I went to a hot dog stand. I went and bought some peanuts, and I was just going to have my ballpark food at home.
No popcorn? Readers of the book will be shocked and disappointed.
There's plenty of stock with that. No problem. That's always here. And I'm sitting next to someone who says something about fantasy and asks me if I know something. And the next thing you know, we're talking about his fantasy football team. And he's asking me about strategy. And the owner of the place walks out and says, "Oh, I know Matt. He actually wrote a book on this stuff, blah, blah, blah." And we start talking. I asked the guy, "What does the winning team in your league usually look like?" He couldn't understand the question at all. But once I got him to realize all these good players, the playoffs for your fantasy leagues, all the good players are now sitting and resting if they have injuries. And so when I say, what does a winning team look like? It's just like in these horse racing tournaments where, what does it take to win typically? And you can look at past totals. Well, look at the kind of teams that win fantasy football. It's usually not the teams stacked with the guys on the best teams in the standings. It's usually the guys that are still playing when the playoffs happen. So again, just a different way of approach and a different way to think.
And that's exactly what impacted my brain. It was, what's the goal? Is it the goal to have the best players? No, the goal is to do the best in these 10 categories. And it totally changed my team build. I was getting guys I didn't like because they helped me. I looked at it like you said. I came up with a target goal for each category. And I didn't. You got to be realistic. I don't think I can win every category, but what's it going to take to be third in each category? And so I had those numbers and tracked it with a little sheet. And so a guy who isn't really a winning baseball player like Giancarlo Stanton really helped me because I got him for $2, and he has a boatload of home runs and RBIs, 2 categories where I'm like at the top, with major contributions from a guy who cost $2. That's how you win. Taking and just risk reward stuff. I took flyers. I built an extremely strong pitching staff and then took flyers on some cheap guys, one of whom, Ranger Suarez, panned out beautifully at one point, looking like a damn Cy Young Award winner. Was able to flip him for a Freddie Freeman in his last year of the contract to get my OBP up, a category I was looking dead in. Anyway, I don't think I win this league, or I certainly don't win by this much without a better way of thinking. So thank you, my friend.
All right, you bet. That's cool.
Let's talk about this overall tour leaderboard. Is it over?
I think so. I don't want to get Julie too excited. I was actually one of the people who was a threat to her. I had the 9 in the last race on 3 entries.
Wow.
And that price, that would have been a serious problem to her. But as I'm looking at the season-long leaderboard, there's only one participant who in this one tournament with 1 entry could have caught her, and that's Mike Saletta. So it's worth looking where he is on the leaderboard. He is 70 points behind her, so he would essentially need to come in first, second, or third, and her not be in the top 10. Otherwise, there's a handful of people, and I was one of them, who were in a position if they can hit multiple times this week. Well, look, if I got third place 3 times and I got 80 points 3 times, 240 points would have been enough to throw me over. I think all of those people like me got knocked out last race. So I'm pretty sure Julie is now safe unless Mike is in a position to somehow magically catch her. But that would also depend on the odds of the horses they took.
Right. We can, the beauty part is we can take a look. Am I now sharing the actual leaderboard? Can you see that on screen, Matt?
Yes.
All right, let's scroll down and see if we have anything from Mike Saletta.
He was right in it for a while. And, like a lot of these things, the first race counts as the last. So he's in 48th. I know he's got 3 entries, or at least 2. He's got the 3-horse. I'm not sure that's enough.
Yeah, the good entry, the 3-horse. Let's see what price that one is.
At 6 to 1. I think Mike's not going to do it. So, okay, at that point, then I'd say your season leader is determined. We now focus on the week at hand, and we're going to add more points for some people, and so there are going to be some people making the playoffs that weren't otherwise going to make it, depending on what happens here.
I just noticed myself somehow, even though I was charging it all morning, my computer battery is down to 10%. So if you see me looking around furtively, it's to find potentially an outlet, because I don't know how much time 10% is going to equate to. It's going to be close.
Yeah, if you ask me to call a race, I'm just going to walk out also.
I'm just going to wander around here and see if we can find I'll tour the brewery for you. This looks like there could be some power here at this nice table where people just stood up. Let's take a look.
All right, so while you're walking around, let's say something nice for Matthew McJunkin. He's got a nice lead of $16. It looks like he's got the lukewarm co-favorite here. So, maybe that's a little bit defensively helpful. He wouldn't have known that when he did this pick and pray style, but he's got a healthy lead. The person behind him with the 7-horse at 6 to 1. That's probably enough to catch unless Matt's horse gets second. So I think there's a whole bunch of people drawing live here. Those with the 2-horse, probably not. I think their odds are short. But again, as you look at there's relevance to being in the top 2. There's relevance to being in the top 10. And once you look at the top 10, that's only at $38. And as I'm scrolling down, there's tens of people within reach of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, lots of all to play for, as we like to say, all to play for. Somehow I don't see a single outlet in this place. Isn't that amazing? I really thought charging all morning would get me there, but I guess having all these, I'm realizing the pains of having all these windows open on the computer. So I'm trying to think if I can hop onto my phone if it all goes wrong. I don't know. We're just gonna fake it. There's some scenario where you're left alone for a minute, but just talk about if that happens. We're gonna hope that doesn't happen, and if it happens, you're gonna talk about the book. That's what you're gonna do.
Oh yeah, I could do that forever. I'm worried about your views. That's your problem. I will point out, my views on playing hunches. There has been an unusual string of horses with the name Olivia. One of my 2 daughters. Yesterday was another one. Princess is Olivia, I think, scored me the second time. And I made some joke on Twitter that, maybe it's just a function of the popularity of a given name in a given era. But my other daughter, Allison, does not seem to have an awful lot of names in horses. I am looking here. Sassy Alley is the 3-horse in this last race. I don't know if Allison's going to appreciate the sassy tag. It definitely applies.
She's a little sassy. We went to dinner. She's a little sassy.
So she'd frankly kill me if she knows how much I've been playing Olivia. So at this point, I'm obligated, I suppose.
Gotcha. Was that what you did on your official entries?
It is. It's, I think, the only. I did not quite do quick picks, but I did almost no modifications to what they gave me. I just wanted to have some reasonable picks and stick to middling odds, and that's kind of what so I made a few adjustments here and there, but I didn't handicap these races and was completely comfortable with leaving it to chance. It's gotten me far enough to have a couple entries in the playoffs, and okay, we'll see if I can make something of it.
All right, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to switch myself to the phone. And I'm going to try to do it without there being any.
This is going to end up so bad for me.
See if this works.
Oh, this is hell for all of us if it's more than one Pete. He's upside down now. Can't hear you. I can tell you're laughing. Are you on mute? There you go.
I'm off mute now.
Great.
So this is working. Now the question is, if I close the computer that's like the broadcast source, there's a chance the whole thing is going to stop, which I really don't want to have happen. But now that we know this works, it doesn't matter where I find the plug for the outlet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to broadcast from there. I can come right back here. So the good news is I can now just go inside, ask where an outlet is, and we should be okay. How many do you have the racing on? How many minutes to post?
4 minutes to the race. Like I said, I haven't really looked at it, but I'm happy to talk through it. If I'm not going to JK handicap the thing for everybody, but I'm happy to talk it out if you want.
He's a tough act to follow in terms of the quick capping success he's had. It's interesting. Obviously he's a man who does the work, but like his intuitive capping he's the best intuitive capper that I've ever seen. Like, not too many people are going to be able to look at a race for a minute and actually have something salient to say. Somehow he can. I don't quite get it. It must be some weird, like, savant, like, trick of the brain. What do you make of that? I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying is true, right?
I do, and I'm not trying to compare myself to him. I actually think I'm in a large group of people that used to have a similar skill set. I think those of us that used to go to the OTB had an amazing ability to look up at the screens, see 3 or 4 minutes to post, and do a pretty good job of familiarizing ourselves with completely random racetracks. And that isn't something we do as much anymore, given that you have more control from home with your devices and whatnot. But I think in the OTB days, me and my buddies, all we needed was 3 minutes, and that's all it was. The results also spoke for themselves, by the way. It's nothing to be proud of.
That's very
It was fun.
All right, I found a plug. I just have to ask these nice people if they mind me interrupting, so I'm going to mute myself.
I would pay money to see this computer get stolen. These people are just going to pick up the computer and leave, and we're all going to
I'll guard the door so we don't have to.
I mean, Pete, we're all imagining you just having to run it. We can picture the video of these people running away from you.
It'll be captured. We should have set it up. Next time we'll set it up. We'll pay Howard to run off with the computer and see if we can make that magic happen. But all right, so yeah, now it's just me and the phone. I have no other information, no other anything, just the gift of gab. So we'll try to we'll try to make it work. I think it should though. But yeah, give us a little run through. Like, who did you end up? You just took a quick pick here, but who did you end up with numbers wise, and what price are they?
So I really haven't picked. So if you said to me, cap this thing quickly, where I turn, just to give some insight into my line of thinking, I immediately am looking at the double will pays, and the numbers 2 and 10 are jumping out at me immediately. And as I go to the odds board, that's no surprise or new information. I then go out to the pick 3 to see if, going out a little further gives a little more info. And in fact, the 7 got some extra play there that I wouldn't have expected to see. So between the 2 and the 7, those seem to be in the pick 3 and in the daily double, the horses that were getting some attention. And as I'm looking up at the board, 5-1 off of an 8-1 morning line on a Clement horse. It doesn't take me much longer than that to come up with that. I still have to play. I got to play Allison somehow, and I got to do that before I miss this. What I don't have is the live feed in front of me. So,
gotcha.
I got
2 of us. So yeah, do that and see if you can get your eye on it, just so we can follow along. If you have a way of doing that, as I do not at the moment.
I do. Just give me a second. All right, there we go. Okay, so they're kind of jogging around a little bit.
So I'll ask you. I'm gonna ask you this question more than once because I think I want to have you on Horse Players Happy Hour one more. Not Horse Players Happy Hour. This is Horse Players Happy Hour I want to have you on BCBC Diaries one more time, and I'll probably ask you this question again, but we can workshop it here. As somebody who's not a particular handicapper, better first, how do you approach the handicapping for the Breeders' Cup itself? What's your process?
My process is to be true, and I'm looking, they're crossing over the grass, so I'll talk fast. I handicap it.
Still probably a minute and a half.
Okay. I handicap it myself. I do. I read it. I don't screw around with pre-entries. I wait for post positions, but
okay, interesting. So you wait till the draw. There's nothing you do between now and then.
Nothing. The only thing I might do is listen to your Monster Pod and take some notes. So what I then do is, after I have my own opinions, I will start factoring in those of you, Nick Tamaro, JK, Howard, certainly, friends whose opinions I respect. And those.
What do you do for Euros? Anything for Euros particular? I mean, are you listening to our Euro content?
It's your content. Yeah. I mean, here's a free plug for you, but it's honest. It's your content. By the way, they're in the gate right now or getting close.
Right.
And so I listen.
You can still talk. I'm not going to make you call the race, so you can talk halfway through, but just give us a little bit of an idea of what's going on without calling the race.
I will. And so I'll listen to some podcasts and I'll take some notes on my own program. And, for me, my style is not to bet every race. And so somewhat quickly, I end up disqualifying races or just saying I'm not going to focus on this one. And so I'm more focused on spot picking and looking for interesting plays where there's only one or two logicals, maybe pairing them up in a daily double, something like that. All right, so I see that the race just went off. I will first note that the favorite is the 2 at 2-1. The 10 went off at 3-1.
And you bet which? You bet 2 horses in here?
I played Sassy Alley for my kid, who grabbed the lead at 7-1.
Nice.
6 at 24-1 is giving a little bit of pressure. The 10 horse, if I hadn't bet the race yet, is the one I'd be playing right now at 3-1, sitting in third off of those two.
You talked about before.
Sassy Alley's getting some pressure from that 6 horse. That's kind of sad for me. They're rounding the turn, coming for home. That 3 horse Sassy Alley is still in front, but is going to get swallowed quickly. I think the 10 is already passed. So at 3-1, that 10 horse is looking good. It's, 3 is hanging in there. I'm not seeing anyone from behind. The 5 is now flying at 8-1. Sassy Alley is coming back, and you might see me explode in 2 seconds. I think that's going to happen.
The horse came back after being passed?
Thank you very much, Allison. Oh, my goodness. That was ridiculous. These horses all just hit a wall, and that horse just popped at 7-1. Oh, my goodness.
That's hysterical. I thought the 10 was the winner from as you were calling it.
I think
check the leaderboard real quick, see if there's any implications there. And did you use, because you quick picked it at the time, did you even know that there was an alley in the last race? You used this horse somewhere?
When I quick picked it, I adjusted to this. But no, the bet I just made on my phone was a function of just needing to be true to my kid. So
amazing.
Okay, that was a little crazy.
Too funny.
Yeah, that's real life, people. All right. So Nathan Kaczynski is $23 behind.
It's going to be tight.
That's going to be tight. And with the 10 getting second, who I think was the second favorite, I'm not sure the place price is going to get there. Nathan,
$21 probably.
Yeah, Nathan, don't get too excited. I think Matthew Majunkin's got it, and I think
but remember, second is big, though.
Well, right, and Matthew Majunkin has the 10 for second. So,
gotcha. So yeah, he'll win probably.
I think he wins. I think Nathan gets second. Tim Holland, I think a couple others stay where they are. The next one down is in 15th place. John Manarino had the 3 also, so he's going to safely move up into the top. But boy, Bill McAvoy in 38th, he should move up. Mike Saletta had that horse. Mike.
Oh, wow. But we said, right, we looked at it. We were like, probably not enough. And
I don't think it's just not enough to get him moved up. So once this is official, this thing will, all of this little guesswork will go away quickly.
yes. And I'm going to ask you, if you can't, I can do it, but I'm going to ask you to run through the final leaderboard for today when it's official. We don't update the tour leaderboard in real time, but this really only I think we're going to know, right? Yeah.
We will definitely know. And you should know, I wasn't soft pedaling on that 3-horse. That was a ridiculous comeback. I think that 10 looked gone and hung not great.
I'll watch the replay and give you my honest opinion.
Yeah,
sometimes when that happens, it's like a part of the course is good too.
Yeah, that was not acting. That was completely a ridiculous finish, and I had the 3rd best horse in there, in my opinion. But whatever.
It's very funny.
All right, so
it's a good clip of you doing it live. We may have to show that on a future Horse Players Happy Hour. But obviously, we're going to have the tour winner this week. But we'll keep that. We'll remember that clip.
Oh, it was real. I mean, that's what you get with me. All right, so let's also be real. My math skills are apparently shit. Don't tell Howard Kravitz. Nathan, congratulations. You did take over Matthew McJunkin.
Really? Even with a 7-1 with the favorite that Matthew had? That's shocking.
I don't really get it.
What are the prices?
Oh, you know what? Here's my mistake. That 10 horse got passed at the last second and got 3rd. There was there was a crazy closer so that he didn't have that. That would have made the entire difference. That's crushing.
Right. So that was a price horse, I'm guessing, to give him a better place price.
Correct.
Got him there. That's what happened.
So, I mean, you can see just how quickly this stuff falls apart. I mean, Matthew, that's a killer loss. Sorry. You still get second, which I think
second is basically as good as first, though. I mean,
exactly.
unless that 10 points means something to him on the tour, he's in great shape.
I think he's in great shape. So it's more just, it's nice to win, but I think
it's good to have that one next to your name. But Horse Players Happy Hour, I mean, there's 10 tour points difference between first and second. It's pretty flat up there.
Yeah. He should feel like he won. All right, so let's go down the board. So Nathan, nice job for first. Matthew second. John Manarino, the guy I mentioned who also had the 3-horse, he moved up to 3rd. And then, like I said, a couple people stayed the same. Tim Holland, Gary Wright, 4th and 5th. Bill McAvoy moved up with that 3-horse. Daniel Edwards, 7th. Mike Saletta, 8th. All right, I'm switching screens for a second. He was 70 points behind in the leaderboard.
So 30 ain't going to do it.
It ain't going to do it, but it's a valiant effort. And I'm sure
how close he came.
I mean, you look back at the other races today, I'm sure there's one he's going to point to that says, can you believe it?
He had one as an alternate that might have been the extra 50.
Who knows? But that's a heck of an effort for second. Nick Toy held on for 9th. William Smith hit the winner and moved up to 10th. Mark Woodson got that long shot for second to come up to 11th place. Oh, this is going to get fun for me. Kieran Thornton.
Kieran was there. Kieran's a buddy. Yeah, he was on BCBC Diaries this week.
So hit the 3-horse, made it to 12th. Edward Enborg, I heard you mention that name, hung on for 13th. And then yours truly hit that 3-horse and took the last 3 spots.
No way. You're going, that's hysterical.
No. Actually, I'm going to take that back. And this is really nice too, because I took 3 spots, and right behind me is Julie Leboyko, who took the next 2. So she rounds out what I think is the top 18. But as I'm looking,
beautiful.
It pays 19 seats, and so Frederick Reynolds is the last one in. By the way, all these people, me, Julie, Frederick, all had that winner, the 3-horse. So this was all so tight. And did I see right? There's actually 4 others that get breakage. So I hope I'm not misleading anyone or reading this wrong, but if I'm getting this right, 19th is Frederick, which should mean you're in for Saturday. And then Peter Days, Peter Dressens, James Henry, and Daniel Edwards should be getting $20 back a piece.
Hey, chance to play another feeder somewhere along the line. Of course, our price goes up at $189 next week. Hope you'll still continue to support with that cut going to charity, but you know, I'm not going to hold you to it. But it's going to be a great playoffs. That was a great result in the end. I'm going to hold off on the official congrats to Julie, but I don't know how anything else is possible. So hopefully we'll get a chance to get her for BCBC Diaries this week. We'll check in with one of our regular players as well. Super fun, Matt. Great work. Thank you so much for helping me out here as I had my my battery die for me this week. Any closing thoughts from you? Any book events coming up? Anything, you know? I thought we should like come up with a virtual signing at some point or something. Have you given any thought to anything along those lines? You know, Breeders' Cup could be an interesting time to do something like that.
I'd love to do it. So I got to think about that a little bit. Maybe some publicity in advance of the Breeders' Cup. You know, I think our friends there would be nice if we asked for some help, if, you know, whatever. So you know, maybe at a minimum, it's just a meet and greet, or, you know, there should be an awful lot of people there. It's been fantastic, the feedback I've gotten. I'm not exaggerating. It's got to be at least 10 people that have written to me or called me to say, I just qualified for that event or the NHC because of your book, and I want to get you a drink when I see you there. So it's completely surreal to me. So, yeah, I'd love to see people at those events. So I'm going to be at Keeneland for the second week. I'll be there, obviously, for the Breeders' Cup, and yeah, maybe we'll figure something out.
All right. Well, to be determined. But thank you, Matt, for all your contributions. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Sorry, with this setup, I really wasn't able to look at comments today. I'll get better about that as we go forward. It is going to be funny. I'm going to have one in England, or there'll be one while I'm in England. We'll see how I'm going to work that out. But I think it should be okay. It's a Thursday night. I'll probably just stay home and watch American racing and quietly chill in Stratford, where I'm staying. But I think we're ready to send this one home. So I want to thank you, Matt, one more time. Thank JK. Remind everybody we got a ton of great content coming up for the California Crown. Check that out, as well as coverage of 2-year-old races from New York. On the In the Money Plus side, we're going to have even more stuff happening this week, including hopefully some Sunday Santa Anita coverage. We'll see what shape that takes. We're going to have some Churchill Downs somewhere as well. There's great racing there. But want to thank, in addition, all of our friends at the Breeders' Cup, especially Haley and Justin, who make these shows happen. Really, everybody in the comments, as I said, you can't do these shows nearly as well without you. We'll be back next week with the official winner of the HorsePlayers Happy Hour Tour. Until then, I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.